right, and there we go. We are now once again kicked off with another episode and two guys and a beer, and the best part of the program. There we go. Oh, I think I got a little bit over on the mouse pad. That's okay. We'll
kind of splashed it all over here too. But that's all right.
That's fine.
Adds for effect.
Exactly. It really ingrains the laptop into the program is really what it does. So. Once again, Andy Beckstrom, Sean Field here with you, Two Guys and a Beer podcast. Today's beer, Keweenaw Brewing out of Michigan. And Sean recently went there. If you've seen the reel or anything that we had going on there, a lot of fun to be able to kind of go on site to a certain extent.
Yeah, I went up there this past weekend just to try the beer for the podcast. You know, we've tried it before. And actually, Andy, you're the one that brought this beer onto all of us many years ago in this Tri-County area. You're welcome. So I thought, man, what a great beer to try. Pay homage to Andy because he did such a good thing by bringing this beer to us. So I talked to the wife. I'm like, hey, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go up to the brewery, take a video to show people, check it out, see what's going on up there. So that is what we did.
I'm a little bit jealous. I know that you had asked if I could go up and I had some stuff going on or whatever, but I'm a little bit jealous that I wasn't able to go with and be able to check it out.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool brewery. They actually have a production facility in South Range, Michigan. It's maybe about 10 miles south of Houghton. In Houghton, Michigan is where they have the tap room. The tap room is about 3,200 square feet, 3,400 square feet. There's two bars in there, a huge outdoor patio that overlooks the waterway that it's on. I don't recall what the waterway it is, but I think it's like Copper Island across the waterway. It's in a really old building. It looks really cool. It's like industrial looking inside, along with like a Wild Wild West theme, just old bricks and wood and lanterns. And it's pretty cool in there.
Kind of a fun sounding building for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was right next to Michigan Tech. So when the wife and I got there about an hour and a half later, all the college kids started filtering in.
It's kind of interesting. It is a little interesting though that like a lot of kids going in there that like to a brewery, you know, usually like college kids are like looking for the party or the bars or something like that. But to go to a brewery, you know, I mean, that might just be the thing that's available, I guess. But
that's what I was thinking. We were young. We didn't go to a brewery. Of course, they were hard to come by.
Right.
But they're in there drinking craft beer and not like Schmidt. Whatever cheap stuff they can get
they don't have a bottle of Boxer.
Whatever they could get their hands on. While I was there, I found out this KBC, for short, was established in 2003 is when it started. It started by a couple guys named Paul and Richard that immigrated here from Colorado.
Okay.
According to the bartender there, I forget that gentleman's name, they both kind of lost their jobs. If I remember right, they said they did something in the oil field out there.
Okay.
I don't know how they ended up in Michigan, but they ended up in Michigan.
It's kind of well, instead of going and applying somewhere here next door to the neighboring town, let's just go to Michigan.
Michigan and started a brewery. They are the largest brewer up in the UP for a craft brewery. They're the sixth largest in Michigan, and they produced 11,800 barrels of beer in 2021.
Oh, wow.
And
I think I drank probably two of those.
Well, if you're drinking Widowmaker, it's pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who don't know, this would be the beer fact of the day. Barrels of beer come in many different sizes, but the average size barrel of beer is 31 U.S. gallons. So if you feel like doing some arithmetic, you can figure out how many 12-ounce cans of beer are in one barrel of beer. There's 31 gallons in there. In 2018, they did sign a deal with Comerica Park, of course, where the Detroit Tigers play.
Right.
To distribute their beer there. The Widowmaker beer is sold from this KBC brewery, sold in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota are the three states that it's sold, and that's it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a fantastic beer, the Widowmaker. It's a dark ale.
It is.
Black ale, as they say.
It is very good. What's interesting about it, too, is if you crack it open and you pour it in a cup, it looks like a Guinness. It's dark like a Guinness. It has like a frothy top, you know. But, you know, when you drink a Guinness, it feels kind of bloated. You can only drink one or two. You get full. Yeah, but it's still a good beer.
Yeah, it's got some heaviness to it.
Yeah, this does not. This drinks like a lager, but tastes like a dark beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely good. And, of course, if you read the can, right on the can, it gives you the perfect description of how it tastes. Easy on the hops. Easy on the palate, a light-bodied ale with hints of smoky molasses and a surprising depth of malt flavors. And that part of smoky molasses, that is definitely the aftertaste of this beer. Is
100%.
Definitely, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And the way that you describe it, or the way that the can, I guess, describes it too, is that it's easy on the palate, light bodied. It's one of those that, like you said, you pour it in a glass, you get it on tap, or you get it in a can, and it has that look, that really deep, heavy look to it. But it wouldn't be anything to have 4, 5, 6 of them. It's still very light with flavor. So it's actually one of my favorite beers, really. I think I say that probably every week, but
no, it is a real good beer. And yeah, it drinks like a light beer. But the flavor is so good. It's almost a beer where you just want to go there and have a couple and just savor the taste. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you'd want to drink this after mowing the yard and slam 6 in a row.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, you could.
That's a different, that's the moose head. That's
right. I mean, you could, but this is more of you want to relax, maybe light up a cigar and drink a beer like this Widowmaker.
Absolutely. Yeah, we for those that may or may not know, I still own the property, unfortunately. People always ask me that question all the time. But 2012, 2013, I had a sports bar. It was open, Fieldhouse Sports Bar and Grill. I was very proud of it at the time. Did pretty decent, but not enough to keep it going at that time. But during that time, I was kind of on the forefront, at least in the area that we were in, as far as wanting to bring more craft beer to the table. Like a lot of bars at that time, this is 2012. There was a lot of craft that was out there. You could get some like at liquor stores, but you were still like 1 or 2 doors worth of craft beer. There wasn't a lot of craft beer out there, but I really enjoyed it, and I had done some home brewing a little bit myself. Not a lot, just a little bit. Drilled that hole in the hood.
Yeah,
I think we talked about that before.
That last time.
So I had talked to my vendor about some different things, and the real heavy craft like Shock Top or Blue Moon. Not exactly the most craft that's out there, but did have some like Clown Shoes or some other stuff. But this was one of them that the vendor suggested it to me. Said they're kind of a little known, a little bit smaller brewery, but you should try the black ale. I mean, I'll probably like it, but I don't know if other people will like it. And so I put it on, like, sure, I'll get it's a little barrel. It's just it was like 15 gallons or something like that, not the full keg. And, I tried it and I'm like, this is amazing. I got to recommend this to absolutely everybody that came in. And I did. And it became, especially in that community, was a really big following of it, which blew my mind. I was like, I want to recommend it to everybody, but you put a big, deep, heavy glass like that to a bunch of people that drink Busch Light.
Right.
The reaction's not exactly
like, what is this?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like really latched onto it and really enjoyed it. And for a while, it was actually and I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers, but it was like one of the top 2 or 3 selling beer. I had 12 taps. It was one of the top 2 or 3. Nick Golden blew everybody away. It was the number 1 by twice as much as everything. But depending on the month, we would sell almost more of that than Coors Light.
That's just
or
crazy.
Busch Light or anything like that. It was unreal to me.
That's just crazy, and that's awesome. So it was a distributor that recommended you. So that's how you found out about it?
Yep. It was a kind of a suggested one, but I gave him a real good idea of like, I like some good craft beer. I like hoppy beers. I like something with a flavor to it, something that's going to be really good. I didn't want to have like a Guinness on tap because I knew that at least that community wasn't going to. I had it in the bottle, but on tap, I'm like, that's going to be a waste of a keg. And
that's such a niche type beer, Guinness. You either really like it or you really just, no thanks.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, when like that was kind of, I was looking for something kind of like that. And so, yeah, when he suggested it, he's like, you should try it out. And I think he brought me like a 6-pack of it or something like that the week before I ordered it. But I think I called him as soon as he left and I was like, next time you come here, it better be with a keg. So I got that immediately. And I don't know. It was, I guess to a certain extent, the rest is history because even the other bar in town started carrying it. I think they actually still do from time to time.
Oh, wow.
The pizza pub there in town. But I would see it even in Cambridge or some other cities, locally. And whether it was pushed out there by the same distributor or I'm sure there's probably a sales tactic or whatever. But at the same time, like if you bring it somewhere and it sells hotcakes, you're going to tell all your other bar owners or whoever it is doing the ordering, like, hey, I have this thing you got to try.
Right.
You got to give this a shot.
Good. Right.
It's selling like gangbusters over here. So, yeah, no, it was It was quite fantastic. I learned later on that the fire department that I'm on, there's a guy that I'm on the department with that he actually was up in that area at the time that they first opened. So he was like there during the grand opening.
Nice.
And he's, like when I put it on tap here, he's like, oh my God, when did you hear about that? This is amazing. He would get that all the time. But so we'd chat a little bit about that, but it was kind of a fun callback in a way.
Yeah, it is a really good beer. And that would have been awesome to go up there to the grand opening up there. The tap room that's right on the water, it's real nice. It's right on the water. It's just a gorgeous place to go. The vibe was awesome. It is called Widowmaker. For those of you that don't know why it's called Widowmaker, up in the UP of Michigan, they did a lot of copper mining up there back in the late 1800s, 1900s. When we mined a lot for stuff, now we don't seem to do that as much.
Now we just mine Bitcoin. Whatever that means.
Isn't that the truth? Pretty much mine that, yeah. Well, it was named Widowmaker. In fact, all their beers at the KBC are kind of named after different things of mining when you're up there. But at Widowmaker, actually, they named this after a drill that the miners, it was the first air hose drill that they used for mining down in the copper mines.
What could go wrong?
Right. I don't know. You're 2 miles underground. You're pounding away with air hammers. It seems safe to me. But they didn't have any dust masks or anything on their face or anything to catch dust. So these miners, of course, would inhale this dust from hammering away, and it killed them. So that's why they called the drill the Widowmaker, because any miner that was down there using the drill, they wouldn't live too long.
Mm-hmm.
So made a lot of widows, and then this KBC Brewing Company made a beer called an homage to the Widowmaker drill.
Right. That probably, it does have the a picture. Oh, I'm assuming that's the drill that it does have the picture of it there on the can.
Right on the can there. And of course, their slogan for the beer is "Don't be afraid of the dark."
That's, it's a good slogan to have.
It is
for this one. I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it, go and try to seek it out. Usually, a lot of times they don't have. I guess I don't know that I've seen more often than not. Sometimes it'll be like a 6-pack, or otherwise you can get like a Keweenaw mix pack with some of the other ones in it too. But yeah, I highly recommend this the Widowmaker Black Ale.
Yeah, I do too. I've just seen the 6-packs around me, but yeah, if you can get your hands on it, I would definitely do that. You're not going to be wasting your money on this. That's for sure.
And some of the other stuff that they make is pretty good too. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's another kind of an amber copper one. But the Widowmaker is one that I always come back to.
What is it? Like, Pickaxe Ale?
I think that sounds right.
Like a lighter one.
Yep.
And then the other one I brought that we're not really talking about today is called Red Ridge. And that's like a blood orange type tasting one there. We'll have to try that one another time.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Widowmaker Black Ale is, I don't know, it's legit one of my favorite beers. I don't know. Like I said, every time if I get it when I'm going out, if people haven't seen it, they're always like, whoa, is that really what you're going to drink that? Like, I thought we were going to have like a kind of a fun night on the town. And I'm like, dude, just try it. Give it a shot. Try some of that. Let it roll around in your mouth a little. It's fine.
Let the taste buds take it all in. The smoky flavor, the light smoky flavor. Everybody I've had try it too. Nobody's said no, that they don't like it. They're like, wow, this is definitely pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm also very big, like, well, I don't really want to try. Like, I'll tell you what, I will order one. If you don't like it, I will drink it.
I will drink it, yeah. Trust me, I won't let this go to waste.
Yeah, it's not just going to get dumped out, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so Keweenaw Brewery, definitely, check that out. Like you said, you can get mixed packs or otherwise, just the Widowmaker, highly recommended. But if you're up in the UP or even in the LP, do they call it the LP? I don't think they call it that.
I don't know what they call it.
The mainland.
The lower peninsula.
The rest of it.
The mainland, yeah, the mitten.
But if you're headed that direction, stop by the brewery. Check it out. Tell them you heard it here.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about a story about driving up there. And you'll get a kick out of this. And this is more about women, I think, because I'm such an expert in women here.
Right.
So why is it...
We're going to see our demographics change on the podcast.
So why is it anytime a human adult male, gets in a car for a road trip, we don't need anything. We can drive tank to tank. We don't need to stop. We don't need to stop to pee. We don't need a drink of water. We don't need a pack of gum. But women, on the other hand, are completely different. Now, this is what happened on my road trip this last weekend. Okay. So my wife, I love her to death, bless her heart. she goes to the bathroom before we get into the car and all that stuff. So we get in the car. We stop at the first gas station 20 miles down the road just to get a water, fill up and get some water.
Mm.
Okay, great. I get in the car. I'm waiting for her. She comes out with a water, a coffee, and some sort of grapefruit drink and some Celsius can. Okay. I'm like, okay, great. So we're probably going to stop 4 more times now because she's going to need to pee.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets in the car. She puts her water in the cup holder in the door, gets in, about elbows me in the head and getting into the back seat. She pulls down the armrest in the middle of the back seat just to put her coffee in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sits with the Celsius drink, in her lap. And I'm looking at her like, who needs all this stuff to drive 5 hours up here? So sure enough, a few hours down the road, she needs to pee.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, I shouldn't have drank all that much on a road trip. I know better. But here we are, pulled over, waiting for her to pee. And we get up there, of course. Fine, finally, after a couple stops. Then on the way back, here we go again. Like I feel this death stare coming at me from the passenger seat.
You can just tell.
Like Superman is like zeroing in with laser eyes. I look over. Here she's got an empty water bottle in her hand. She's like crinkling it like, my tongue is stuck to the roof of my mouth. I need something to drink.
Not the coffee, not the Celsius.
Okay.
The water's all gone.
So, of course, we have to stop again, get more water. It's crazy. And that reminded me when I was just on the road trip a couple months ago with my daughter. Same shit. Like, is it just a woman thing? They have to have some sort of liquid next to them at all times. It's like you're not going to dehydrate. The human body can go 3 to 5 days without a drop of water. Like, you'll be fine for 5 hours. But no, we need a water. We need a coffee. We need a grapefruit drink. We need some more water. She's like, oh, I like options. Well, I like to get there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like to have like a bottle of water. Sometimes I'll get 2 bottles of water, but I don't drink a lot of pop to begin with. So I guess that's part of it. And beer is frowned upon for road trips.
Yeah, it doesn't work out so well.
Yeah. But, I like to have like a couple bottles of water that, is available. And sometimes I'll drink some of it. Sometimes it'll just sit there, which is totally fine. Cause I don't necessarily, I'll get a little obnoxious with we got to get like a bag of Fritos and like some other random, you're a college kid in a dorm type of snacks or whatever, but just get some of that. But yeah, my plan is unless I get super bored or like super sleepy when I got to get up and start moving around, we're going to go until we can't go no more. Right. I don't know that when we went to Chicago the one time or the couple of trips to Milwaukee, like we didn't usually stop a whole lot on, sometimes we'd stop, especially on the way back at like the Dells or something like that to mess around. But
that was like a planned thing though. It wasn't like, I have to pee. I need some water.
Yeah.
No, you don't need it.
Yeah.
You want it.
Exactly.
And I feel the death stare. I'm not even looking at it, like just those eyes, penetrating your skull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need water, crinkling the water bottle.
Right. It's kind of like at a restaurant if you're like raising the glass and just like shaking the ice cubes.
And like my tongue is stuck to the roof of my mouth. Well, not really, because you're talking to me right now.
It's true. That's it. It is physiologically incorrect.
Like, I don't know.
It's good to be prepared, but maybe it's just just need to stop and walk around a little bit. Maybe that's all it is. I guess I don't know. I don't try to even come close to claiming to understand the other gender at all.
Well, I certainly didn't come with an instruction manual. That's for sure.
That's true. I will say though, like from that standpoint though, like generally speaking, Amanda's pretty good about, not that we do a ton of like super long road trips, but she's very much so like, no, we're going to go. We got places to get to. Like when we went to last year, we went to Kentucky. We did a Ragnar run in Bourbon Country, Bourbon Trail.
Oh yeah.
So it was really cool. But as we drove down there instead of flying down to Lexington or anything like Louisville or anything like that, which we could have, but it was, I don't know, price wise and time off and whatever. It just like made more sense. So we drove down there, but it was, God, did we make it all that we left? I don't know if it was midday or after a work day or something like that, but we gave up and like got a hotel finally in Gary, Indiana. Like we drove all the way through to that before we stopped. I think we stopped for gas or something once, but otherwise it was, nope, we're going to keep going and we're just going to plug right along. We got a cell phone. We got like a crossword puzzle or something. who knows? And there's a nap over here for me. Like,
and that's usually what we do too. Like, I'm not trying to throw my wife under the bus because she doesn't typically do that. This was kind of a out of the ordinary thing. Usually we drive straight through.
Mhm.
You know, we've driven straight through from here to North Carolina and from here to Texas and stuff. But I don't know. I was just like thinking, like, what on earth is going on here?
We'll have to, anybody listening, definitely check in on the comments. Give some feedback on it. Experience.
What are your experiences on that? I just had $1 million idea. You know how
Ooh, let me get a pen.
Yes. The other gender doesn't come with instruction manuals. I wonder if there's an app that says what to do. That could be $1 million
There
idea.
might be.
What if we design an app?
There we go.
We can just put a bunch of weird random stuff in there. It doesn't even make sense.
There you go. It'd be a 50-50 guess, essentially.
Yeah. Charge $2.99 a month.
Whatever you pick, it's going to be wrong. So it's fine. Something like that. Yeah. There we go. App developers, reach out, like, share, subscribe,
Drink Widowmaker while you're developing the app.
Mm-hmm.
Because that'll probably happen to us after we develop the app. We won't be around much longer.
Right.
We'll have an accident in the house.
Exactly. We were using the drill, and he just stopped breathing. I don't know what happened.
he fell down the stairs. I'm not sure how that happened.
If anybody's listening right now and have disappeared, clear my browser history. So what else you got? Vikings lost. Didn't get smoked, but lost a winnable game.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I was just listening to it because I was on my way back from the
Right.
brewery. But it didn't sound that great. What, an interception, 2 fumbles. I don't know. The defense seemed to play out all right from what I heard on the radio.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with the way that they, I don't think that they're jumping up into like the top 10, but I think we talked previously about even if they just make a marginal into like the mid to upper 20s from 32, like just get out of the cellar and make it competitive. I thought that they played pretty good, but I thought that, I don't know, there was a couple of the interceptions. One of them was, it felt like it was forced. There wasn't pressure on him. He just tried to squeeze it into a window.
One to KJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was thrown behind him. When I saw the replay, when I got home, it looked like it was thrown behind him.
And the fumble, Ed Ingram, like, just, what are you doing? Like, slapping the ball out of his hand. Like, you get a lot of crisscrossing, like you're going to run into some stuff like that or whatever.
We have
but
such
it's
a
still
terrible
just
offensive line. Like, it's been that way for years. When are they going to fix it?
They thought that they had it fixed with the high draft picks, but I don't know. Maybe Ingram will be ultimately something, but
yeah, it's just not.
I'm just about willing to. He's injured now, so he didn't really play most of the game. But I'm almost willing to call Bradbury a bust at this point because he was drafted, first, second round. Something like that. Like, he was highly drafted.
It was a high draft
as a center.
Pick, yeah.
But I will admit, I didn't know if he was going to be a bust or not. But I remember watching that draft, and I remember they picked him, and all of the highlights that they showed were of him playing baseball.
That's a great sign right there.
And I'm like, guys, this might be an omen of things to come. If they're not showing highlights of football stuff, like if you're drafting an offensive lineman highly, there should be multiple clips of you just. It's going to be like a 300-pound lineman mowing over like a defensive back that makes it look way worse than it is because that's what highlights do. But you got to have something like that. You get to the second level and you took out a safety or something like that. But no, it was like him. Look at the power he has when he's hitting home runs.
Yeah, that'll do you well when you're snapping the ball.
I don't think that that's going to help you a whole lot when you got 350 defensive linemen pouring down your neck.
And he's an undersized center at that.
Exactly.
And he's what? Last year he played decent until he got hurt. But that was really only his good year in the NFL. He played marginally okay his rookie year on and off.
Yeah, he has not been.
He wasn't consistent.
When you draft, especially a center that highly, interior defensive line, really any offensive lineman or anybody that highly, I guess, to a certain extent. If you're drafting in the first round, you're looking for a person that's going to be competing for a Pro Bowl. Top 2, 3, especially interior defensive linemen, you're looking for kind of that same type of production.
They should be, yeah.
And so just to have somebody that you can't build around as a cornerstone. I think that we got bookend tackles that can compete with anybody in the league, but you get anywhere inside there. Like Cleveland is good, probably in pass defense, but his run or not pass blocking. But he's just hasn't well rounded out really well. And Ingram is just such a flip of a coin. And so I don't know. It's tough. I don't know what you do on that one, but
yeah, our tackles Darsaw and O'Neal they're really good. They're definitely top top of the crop, if you will, for tackles in the NFL. You know, they're above average and very serviceable. The interior line it's just awful. Did you see that? Who was that free agent from Denver that we interviewed this summer, but then we never signed him? Well, he just tweeted out at us again, like, "Hey, I'm still available."
Right.
Like his pass blocking grade was like 30 points better than both Cleveland and the other guy. I can't even think of his name right now. Ingram.
Right. Ed Ingram. Yeah.
And he's like, "Hello, Vikings, I'm here. I want to play with you."
Oh, by the way.
And we're just like, don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. And I think part of it is they're probably locked into some contracts or some stuff like that. There's probably stuff behind the scenes, but at the same time, like, I don't know. It just felt like on offense, they felt almost disorganized in a way. Like they would make a couple of really good plays, but they would almost try to force the ball into certain areas. Yeah. And Madison, I think, is still a good back, and I think he's good out of the backfield, but he runs into his own guys far too often for a running back in my mind. He ran into his own guy blocking probably 4 or 5 times throughout the course of the game. And it's like, I understand that, like, if the block is moving, you're trying to get around it, or you don't want to go on the inside and you basically run into a tackle. But at the same time, like, as a running back, isn't your job to avoid running into people?
I think
like, don't shy away from contact, but like,
unless you're lowering your head going into a defender, then you hit them. But
exactly, it just seems bizarre. Like, I don't know. It just felt like, I don't know. And it's one game, so overreaction Monday, you know, like that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, there's some areas of opportunity, I guess, that's the way that I'll word it.
Yeah, you know, one thing so far this year about for me for football, and it's took me most of my life to get this way, is I'm just not emotionally invested in professional sports anymore. So when one of my teams I root for loses, it's just not a big deal to me anymore. Mm-hmm. What Kurt, 3 turnovers yesterday. I mean, I guess you can't blame them all on him, but you could probably blame 2 of them on him.
At least.
Maybe.
Yep.
You know, the exchange and then the interception.
Mm-hmm.
And then that stat popped up on the radio. I don't know if people that watched it heard it, but if you're a -3 in turnovers in the history of the NFL, you have a
that record's not real well.
chance to win the game. 7%.
It sounds right.
We were in the game. We could have still won it, even with the turnovers. I didn't watch it. Like I said, I was listening to it on the radio, but what did Kirk look like to you? Did he look good? I mean, he threw for 300 and some odd yards, and he was 32 for 41 or something like that.
He looked decent. He looked good, but there was a couple of them that felt kind of forced. But really, what almost stood out to me, and I don't know if this is a game plan thing or the defense got into the backfield better than what was anticipated or whatever it was, but there was probably 5-6 completions to, like, we're going to do like a little bubble screen with CJ Ham, and he's tackled for a loss.
I hate those plays.
And it's like, if you know that that's going to happen, I don't know if he's trying to keep his completion percentage up for being in a contract year. You know, this is where those conspiracies start to float out there. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to throw this ball to TJ Hawkinson and you're going to lose 4 yards, aren't you better off just throwing it at his feet and living to play another day at 3rd and short rather than 3rd and 9?
Well, like, logic would tell you that, at least.
It just feels like, you know, like I get the idea of getting it in space and making a playmaker or allowing a playmaker to make a move and try to get him. I would take JJ on the outside, flip it to him a yard behind the line, and just let him make something happen because he's athletic enough to do that. And I'm not trying to knock TJ Hawkinson because I think he's a tremendous playmaker as well. But if he's catching the ball with his back to the defense as he's being tackled, that's not exactly giving him an opportunity to make a play or even lower his shoulder. Like, you can't do anything from there.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily him. I mean, maybe his route running.
Yeah.
But he's still what? He's probably a top 7 tight end in the offensive tight end in the NFL. I mean, his blocking is a little suspect at times, but he can run routes and he can catch the ball.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's some things that I thought that they did well. You know, I mean, I thought that they did a very good job trying to remove Jefferson from getting anything. You can't keep a guy like that down all night long, but Addison, I thought, had a couple of good catches, you know, played well. Osborne was able to get into the mix a little bit, but not a lot. It felt like they were kind of going to Addison a little bit more, but that's who's open, you know. But yeah, Jefferson, it still got him opportunities, moving him around, getting him a matchup on a linebacker or something, and then trying to throw a little seam route or something. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think that the Tampa Bay defense is still pretty good. I think people knocked the Tampa Bay team as a whole because Baker Mayfield is their quarterback. But He's serviceable enough, and if your defense is good, their defense is still a stout, solid defense.
Well, Winfield
and Todd
Jr.
Bowles
was
is still,
causing a ton of havoc. Winfield Jr.
absolutely.
He was all over the place.
So, yeah, it's hard to, I mean, whether I think they might be, maybe they're the playoff team out of the NFC South, because the NFC South is all kind of bad. But
what about the Saints?
I'm going to need to see something out of them. Chris Olave's done wonders for my fantasy football team. But yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily buy them. I don't know that I buy in Carolina with the new quarterback. Falcons maybe. I don't know. It's the entire South is just kind of as a toss it up in the air and who knows. But if you got a good defense like that, you're going to stay in games. You're going to at least give yourself a shot.
Yeah, it's going to be a slugfest in that NFC South, though, for sure. I don't think any which one of them will really pull away. I think it's going to be a tight down there all season. 8-8, 9-9 type records.
Right.
Only 2 games above 500. Maybe 3 games above 500.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield, he's beat the Vikings twice in his career. He's 2-0 against the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a great quarterback, but I think he's a little surprising at times.
I would agree. I think that he's better than what people give him credit for. He's still not a first round pick. I think he went number 1 overall. He's not that guy, but I think because of that level of expectations, people rag on him a lot more. You're not building the franchise around him, but at the same time, like I would have been, if they let Kirk walk next year, if he's available, like I'd be fine with him being kind of that bridge quarterback for a year. You know what I mean? Like we have enough weapons that he can just throw it around and let them make the plays, like as long as he doesn't throw it away to the other team. Like that's the one of the things that he has against him, but he's not great, but he's serviceable.
Yeah, he is serviceable. Yeah, he can get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't get the job done, but 0-1, Philadelphia next.
So that's going to be 0-2.
Yeah,
it's really, we're going to go into Philadelphia and win. I guess
it's a tough pull on that one.
Maybe they're the Vikings of the 90s where we just lose to the games we should win, and then we just miraculously beat those teams that you're like, really?
Start pulling out wins against teams.
Steve Young and the 49ers, like, why?
Right.
Then you go in and play the Raiders with, can't even think of a 90s quarterback, Jeff Hostetler, and we get blown out.
Right.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just destroyed. You can always count on the Vikings to be able to make somebody look really good. How many backup quarterbacks did we face last year?
Too many. I can't even count that high.
It's ridiculous. But there's always the next week, and then eventually hockey season will be here. At least for me, that's what I get excited for.
There's next week, then there's next month, then there's next year. Oh, we'll get it next year. Oh, we'll get it next year.
Yeah.
And now we're 40. And we've gotten nowhere.
It's true. Yeah, that was one of the shirts that was at the state fair that I seen all the time. Was like just once before I die, just once.
Yeah. What do you think of Deion Sanders in Colorado?
I think I don't know. I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing. I think that he's a good coach. Ultimately,
clearly he is. Look what he did with Jackson State.
Yep.
And now,
he
lost a couple games in 3 years there, and now he's 2-0 and. In the Big Ten, well, one game against the Big Ten, but Colorado is in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it'll be interesting to see kind of how they react to losing maybe a couple of games in a row. I mean, who knows? Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll lose like one game all season long. They'll finish like 9-1 or whatever it is. But I don't know. I think the thing that I shouldn't say bothers me, but it just becomes such a. You have to have confidence in yourself. If you don't have confidence in yourself, then you're going nowhere to begin with. But if you get to a post-game press conference in a game that you likely should have won anyway, and you say, you believe in me now, and then you just rant on that and then walk off. No, I still don't believe in you. Like that's, let's get you up against like, yes, Matt Rule is still a good coach and whatever, and maybe Nebraska will turn into be a decent football team, but they're not right now. They're still not. They didn't exactly. Good. Colorado got so many players. They replaced like 90% of their roster through the portal. Nebraska didn't do that. They're basically the same Nebraska that they have been for the last handful of years. They've gotten some pieces, don't get me wrong, and I think that they're still going to ultimately be, maybe a little below 500, but decent in kind of building program. But if you have that type of expectation to put those numbers up against TCU in your first game, after watching what Nebraska did against Minnesota, I feel like, yeah, you should have won that game. That's not a statement win to me. And I think that that's kind of where it's like, well, do you believe in us now? Like, well, no, maybe eventually, but like, let's get you against somebody that's ranked.
That's what I thought.
15-ish, let's see what you do there. Let's get something going with that. But
yeah, that's what I thought after they were 1-0 and he made that comment, and it's one game.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're a good coach or a bad coach. I mean, clearly he's good. He's been done some good things, but I'm like, wow, dude.
He's got some history in
one game. Like, let's see how the season goes when you play some real tough teams. And of course, TCU was one of the top teams in NCAA last year. So it kind of is a statement win, but I don't know how many they graduated or how many returned,
Yeah, that's I don't know. It's crazy because like that's the game that I thought was a bigger game than the Nebraska game. Because I didn't think that, like, for whatever reason, the line was really close on that one, but I thought that Colorado was going to walk away with that one. I didn't see that one as much of a challenge. So, yeah, I don't know what was going on with that, but it'd be, like I said, it'd be interesting really to see what they do when they face some adversity, because they talked a little bit about, they brought in this new offensive coordinator, kind of, just like do all of the offense. And what they've talked about is Dion does kind of what a lot of coaches should do, but don't, where they're more of the like overseer of everything. They're kind of the CEO of the football team. They're not like right now, Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings. He's the offensive. There's an offensive coordinator, but he's the offensive coordinator. He's calling the plays. He's very actively involved in that side of the ball. Yeah, of course, you got a guy like Brian Flores. You can kind of let him run with the other side and like, just you do your thing, whatever. And that not a lot of involvement, but really a true head coach has his kind of thumbprint on everything, but like, nope, you're coordinators. You're kind of in charge of this side of the ball. I kind of take care of everything overarching with whatever. And that's kind of what the thought was going into this season. But if they show some adversity and they start getting like not shut out, but not moving the ball or things like that, or even on the defensive side, like giving up a ton of, does he start trying to take over some of that stuff? Or does he still allow, like, does he stay in that coach role, or does he become more of a, nope, I'm taking that away from you and start. It'll be interesting to see like when they face some adversity, or if they do. I don't know. Maybe they'll just be undefeated. I doubt it, but
yeah, they very well could be. I guess it's kind of a wait and see and see what happens.
But I don't know. I mean, you bring in that many players, you got to figure you got some talent that showed up out of that. Shadur Sanders, I think is fantastic.
He looks really good.
Absolutely. He's making good decisions. Like he's not just he's throwing the ball well, playing within the offense. Like he's not just like a Vince Young type of quarterback where it's, all right, I'm just taking off, or even like a Lamar Jackson where like that's all it is, just running the ball.
Yeah, he looks like he could be a packet passer.
Yep, that one.
If anybody's ever heard of one of those, please let me know.
That's the new $1 million idea.
It's half a Widowmaker gets you spitting out crazy words.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. They should be pretty good, but it'll be interesting to see. But I don't know. I like him as a coach, and I do hope for some success. But just like that comment, I think that's probably what threw me off. It's just like, yeah, I mean, he has to have that level of confidence. I totally get that part of the bit. But there's also a certain part that I'm like, okay, you got to believe that like not everybody's just going to like fall in love with the darling because you beat somebody you're supposed to. Come back to me when you get like a solid statement win. I mean, granted, the one against TCU kind of was, but let's beat somebody. Let's see what TCU does the rest of the season. If they go run the table, then that clearly was a big win.
That was a big win, yeah.
But I'd like to see somebody that like, whoever, I don't know what their schedule looks like, but if they face somebody that's like 5-0 down the road, all right, let's see what happens there. They get the win on that one, or at least play well. I shouldn't say, I'm not going to put that type of pressure, but if they play well, you know what I mean, can make it competitive, even if they lose, but it's close. Hey, now you've shown me something. You know what I mean? Then I can change my mind a little bit, but
I would almost want them to get their ass beat just because Deion Sanders' attitude sometimes, just those cocky motherfuckers piss me off. But at the same time, he's clearly good at what he does. So you can't get too mad about it. It's just like, holy cow, dude, like just relax a little bit, show a little professionalism.
I feel like
if you can back it up, I guess that's your personality. I guess more power to you.
I feel like we used to, the two of us used to once upon a time play basketball with a set of brothers that would talk a lot or whatever. Only one of them could really back it up, but I want the other one to text me and say
Yeah, we sure did. The one was really good though.
But
and I don't think we ever beat them either.
No, I don't think so.
They were, in fact, a couple of the years they were the only team to beat us at all. You know, they would only beat us in the only team to beat us in the regular season, and they beat us in the playoffs. Nobody else would beat us. So what do you do?
Right. Yeah. Days gone by.
Yeah. Now we drink Widowmaker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So, well, I don't know if you got anything else. Otherwise, I think we kind of covered the gamut of things.
Yeah, I think that's all we got for this time.
I hope you enjoyed the episode, the old proverbial like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on all the social media platforms. See if I can get all of them listed off this time here. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble. It's one that I'm not real familiar with it. I got to get better at that. I'll self-admittedly have to reach out on that one a little more. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the Keweenaw Widowmaker Black Ale episode. Go out and get some for sure.
Agreed. You won't regret it.
Fantastic beer, fantastic episode, and I hope you can join us for another one. As I mentioned, like, share, and subscribe, but mostly give us some feedback. Just click on and tell us what you think, good, bad, otherwise. Just give us some stuff. If you don't want to put it there, just go ahead and send a direct message or something. I don't know if that's an option, but hopefully,
yeah, they probably can on any of the social media, and we're also now on all the major podcast network. It took us for a little bit to get on Apple Podcasts. It takes a couple weeks, but now we're on everything. So if you listen on any podcast platform, we're on all of them. So it's Two Guys, the letter N, beer.
Perfect. Two Guys and a beer. Love it. Fantastic evening here drinking some Widowmaker Black Ale, and hope you can join us for a future episode.